Good morning, folks. It's Monday, the 5th of January 2026, and I'm not unusually here at Sanderson Peak, just below the peak, trying to keep out of there's a pretty bitter southwest wind, sustained at 20 miles an hour, gusting to nearly 30, and recorded a wind chill just now of minus 1.5 Fahrenheit, that's minus 19 centigrade. So I'm going to keep this brief. Quick pan around. We added a bit of snow yesterday, mainly last night. As you might be able to see there in the distance on San Gorgonio, even at their higher elevation, there's very little snow below 10,000. I measured about 3 inches here at the peak. I came up South Ridge Trail and up and over Tuckwitz Peak. There was dusting down to about 7,400, about 2 inches at Tuckwitz Peak, then only about an inch at Saddle Junction. And then oddly it stayed a fairly low number even once I got up to 9,000 feet, and was only about 2 inches at Wellman Divide at 9,700. So basically between above 8,000 feet, between 1 and 3 inches. So there's my fresh tracks on South Ridge Trail, the PCT through from about miles 177 to 181 roughly. So north and south of Saddle Junction, then up the Wellman Trail and the Peak Trail, and I'm going to head back down Deer Springs Trail. So there'll be at least a single post hole track. I say post hole, it's far too shallow to really have any meaningful post hole. Even up here around the peak where it's on top of the snow that we got on the 31st of December, plus in some places a bit of remaining snow from November. So in areas where it had melted off, the most exposed areas, there's now probably about 3 or 4 inches of snow. In some other areas it might be as deep as 8 inches. Obviously in places it's drifted, but that most of that 8 inches is very firm because we've had so much rain and refreezing on top of that. Can't really see on the trees around here that there was much evidence of additional freezing rain, but there was plenty of evidence of water ice on trees and bushes certainly as high as 10,000, probably 10,300, 400, somewhere like that. So again, the snow was mixed in with rain. Could have been a lot more if the storm hadn't been relatively mild. Fortunately, this one was cooler than most of them have been so far this winter. This was the 7th low pressure system of the season, and one of the cooler ones. Prodigious amounts of rain. We had another, in the past 24 hours, had another 1.2 inches in Idlewild for a storm total of, I think it was about 1.94, something like that. So in Idlewild we've had just under 7 inches of rain in the last 11 days. That said, things are going to change. The high pressure system moves back in steadily over the course of the next few days. And regrettably, much of the rest of certainly the middle sort of 2nd and 3rd weeks of January look like they are going to be dry and getting increasingly mild. Because snow is pretty thin everywhere, it can look impressive from a distance, but it's going to melt off pretty quickly. In terms of traction, because of the fresh powder, it's a relatively wet snow. That's another reason it will melt fairly quickly. I didn't need spikes on the way up. I'm not sure if I'll use them on the way down, but I would certainly recommend them. Probably recommend carrying them above about 8,000. Certainly most people will find them useful above about 9,000. I did come around on the north side of Tuckwitz Peak. I was up there on Saturday. Almost all of the old snow had melted off. So basically there's just an inch or two of snow, fresh powder along there. So even the north side of Tuckwitz Peak, very unusually for January, does not require spikes at this time. Tracks will obviously go through some freeze-thaw cycles and compaction once hikers get on them. Now that we've got the holidays behind us, there'll be a lot fewer people up here. January, February tends to be pretty quiet, so there won't be as much compaction, but once things get compacted, then spikes tend to be more useful. And as always, they're more useful for descending than they are for ascending. That's the way gravity goes. That's about it. And in terms of snowshoes, frankly, snow depths are too shallow, really. You might be able to get away with them above about 10,400, but it's really not worth it because you're not post-holing anyway, not at this time. And another stunning day up here in the San Jacinto Mountains, and safe hiking, everyone.